What is up guys, Castle here, back again with another Anthem video. And in this video I wanted to talk to you guys about combos, because it's something you guys should definitely learn as it's a big part of Anthem's gameplay. As you progress you will run into more difficult and stronger enemies, so understanding these combos can definitely help you guys in the long run. So let's start with the basic rundown of what combos are. Combos are two different abilities being used one after the other, dealing bonus damage to the targets, but to add to that, depending on the javelin that you're using, you'll also get a bonus effect. So combos are built off of two things, primers and detonators. A primer is an elemental status effect that can freeze, burn, electrically charge, or acid burn targets. And detonators are abilities that will trigger the combos. And you will definitely know that you've triggered the combo because a very loud chime will go off, indicating that the combo was successful. But I do want to point out that not all of your abilities are primers or detonators. Some abilities just do straight flat damage, which is really good for single target damage, especially when you're up against bosses who have a lot of weak points. So you can do extra damage on weak points or critical locations. A question that might get asked is, what after effect would each javelin have after detonating their combos? So let's start with the Colossus. When he combos, he will trigger an extra explosion dealing huge AoE, area of effect damage. So this is prime for just wiping out big minion waves. That could possibly open up a window for you guys to fly through and continue the objectives. Next we have the Storm, which chains status effects from the original target to other nearby enemies. So if, for sake of saying, an enemy gets frozen and is then detonated by the storm, all nearby enemies will all get frozen, primed again for a follow-up combo. Next we have the Ranger, which adds more single target impact damage to his combos, perfect against much bigger enemies like bosses or the Ursics or the Titans. And lastly, we have the Interceptor, which gains an aura buff to himself. Now, depending on the element type primer, the Interceptor can channel that and pass the effect on from enemy to enemy, through its melee attacks or just being within proximity. So if an enemy stands too close to you and you've comboed against a frozen primed enemy, then if someone else is too close to you, after a short duration, they could possibly get primed if their threshold is low enough. It's also worth noting that some enemies are harder to prime. You can't prime an enemy if they have a shield to begin with, so you'll need to knock that out first before you can begin priming. Some tougher enemies have a higher threshold, because they're a lot tougher and beefier, so it takes a lot longer for those status effects to take a hold, like an Ursix or a Titan for instance. You'll definitely need to layer continuous status effects until you pass their threshold. This is much easier as well when you have a team with you, because if you're all running the same type of elemental status effect attack, then you can just constantly layer that up and reduce the time it takes to actually pass that threshold. So what abilities can you use to combo? On the screen in front of you now, I'll be showing you the symbol for the primer and then the symbol for the detonator. So let's start with the abilities of the Colossus. The primers are consisted of the Firewall Mortar, the Flamethrower, and Acid Spitter, and then the detonators are Lightning Coil, Explosive Mortar, the Heavy Cannon, Railgun, also his melee attack is also a detonator, the Big Ground Slam, and finally the ultimate, the Siege Cannon. Next we go on to the Storm, which primer is the Rime Blast, Living Flame, Ball Lightning, and Hoarfrost Shards, and then the detonators are Lightning Strike, Flaming Orb, Glacial Beam, the melee attack, which is Fiery Strike, and also the ultimate, but the Storm's ultimate is funny enough a primer and a detonator, because it consists of all of the different elements. Next we have the Interceptor, which primers are Acid Bomb, Cryoglaive, and Corrosive Spray, and then the detonators, which is Spark Dash, Tempest Strike, the melee attack, which is the big flurry of blades, and the ultimate. And finally we have the Ranger, which primers are the Frost Grenade, Flame Grenade, the Venom Dart, And your melee ability, the shock mace, is also a primer. And finally you get the detonator, which is the frag grenade, the sticky grenade, seeker missile, and the ultimate, the big old juicy missile barrage. You guys can use this as a reference point to help you make your builds in the future, especially as a solo player, so it's a good idea to plan ahead, trial and error whilst you're out in free roam. Like me, if I was to go solo as a Colossus, I would be rocking the flamethrower and then the lightning coil, solely for the fact then that it's just continuous combos repeatedly, because the lightning coil self-targets. You don't have to do anything, it's a lazy way of doing it, but it's fun as hell. Or you could do it and build yourself as a team player. So as a Storm, you could solely build a Frost priming kit. So then the Colossus and the Ranger and the Interceptor can just go ham with all detonators. Because the Storm has such a big area of effect with all of his abilities, he's perfect for priming. But building like that means that you need good communication with the rest of the team. So shouting out that, hey, I've primed this, come and get a detonator off. And that is all the information you guys will need on comboing. But if you do have any questions, please slap it down into the comments below and we can have a talk about it. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!